Hello everyone, give me just a second. I'm sending out the, trying to send out the link. Let me just double check it to make sure that it's working. Yep. So I'm just holding on for just a second to see if anybody's about to join. So I'll see if I can start sending out the links ahead of time, so that way you get a little bit more of a heads up. So let's see. And okay, I see that someone has joined. Who knows, maybe it's Aiden, not sure. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started now. So, but before we get into the lesson, something I wanted to share with you is that I did do the better version of the lecture of last week, but I hadn't posted it. But if you go to my go to the YouTube channel, R. Trammell, I've created some playlists for you. So let me just show you something. So, like when you click on, say, well, whatever video it is that you see from me, it has a little R. Trammell, which is the name of the channel. So once you go there, and you can look at home, videos, playlists, all this other stuff, okay? But under home, you can find my playlists, or under playlists, you can find the playlist. So the reason why I'm telling you this is that even if I don't send out a link, which I will send out a link for the previous upgraded video, you can still go here and you could click on where it says computer editing and click on view full playlist, and I'll try to have all the lectures there, so that way yeah, you can find them all in one place. So yeah, that hopefully it'll be helpful to you. And now let's go back to the lecture. Okay. And I'm just going to check to see on live board if, oh, so I see that there's more people. I hope if you didn't catch that last thing that I just said, basically if you go to R. Trammell and you click on the channel and go to playlists, then there's a playlist for computer editing, and you can watch the, you can catch up on all the other stuff. And just one more time, a little quick view at what's there. So the playlist that I've created for computer editing has the better version of the linear versus nonlinear editing, the good version without all the mistakes. That is there. I just hadn't put an announcement in Blackboard for it, so you can find it there, and I will also create a link in Blackboard for it as well. So let's get to the actual lecture. So let me get this out the way. All right, so the editing process. We did the history stuff last time. Now we're actually getting into the actual nuts and bolts of editing. And the way that I designed this particular lesson is it kind of takes you through a path of getting the footage from the camera, getting it into the computer, editing the computer, and editing it on the computer, and actually outputting it. So the whole thing, there'll be an editing process, part 1 and part 2. But for part 1, When we get done with that, you'll actually have a test on that and like the little history of linear and nonlinear editing. So something I'm not requiring you to have a book for this class, but over, how can I put it, your time in the multimedia communications department, you'll probably end up with these books. Some students may have some of these already. So this is just a reference to some of the information I pulled is from these textbooks in case you're actually interested in that. But you know, not necessary. You don't have to have it. So during this lecture, I will be going to, hold on, let me just want to check the chat just in case. Okay, good. No one has any complaints. So during the lecture, I'll kind of go back to, I call this kind of like the road map of where we are going. So yeah, I kind of made part of it myself. So anyway, so right now we are in this stage, okay? Just getting that footage that you'll eventually be editing. Oh, forgot to start my timer. Okay. So it all starts with your source media or your raw footage. So your and we'll be going during this chapter the getting footage phase. We'll talk about where you get your footage from, how you get it into the computer, you know, shooting the footage, and also different ways of getting the footage into the computer, which also includes capturing. So source media. So when you have your your SD card or whatever, I'm pulling out one of my own. So this would be, say, considered source media. So this is an SD card, or it might be a flash drive, or it might just be a file that you downloaded off the internet. So whatever that is, it holds the footage that you need for editing. So let's see, flash drive, memory card, yeah. Even old VHS tapes can be converted. That can be considered your source media. Yeah, DVDs, you can rip footage from DVDs, and that'll work as well. So importing. Now source media, like I told you, that's the whatever holds your footage. Importing is when you basically create a link, and the key word is link, from your video to your nonlinear editing program. Now, linking video and copying video is not the same thing. So when you guys were in class last week, physically in class last week, one of the things I pointed out was that in Final Cut Pro, the default when you bring footage into the program is that it makes a copy. Every other program does not do that. It does a thing called a link. So if you had that SD card or whatever plugged in, and you're using it, and then you unplug it and you try to edit again, and that source media isn't there, that SD card or flash drive isn't there, then that link is broken and you won't be able to use it. So link is very one of the most important words to in this definition. Let's see. So correct textbook definition. Yeah, creates a link, does not copy the source media, footage. Yeah, I basically explained everything that's here, that if you lose your source media, yeah, you lose your footage. So yeah, and that's just a textbook reference if you actually wanted to look that up, if you have those textbooks that I referred to. Moving on. So these are, I'm going to show you some media offline screens. So this is a pretty old one. This is from Final Cut Pro 6, but you'll recognize it on a lot of different programs. So this one, it'll say media offline, or it may say media unavailable. This, it says missing file. See, do I have one for Adobe? I don't have one for Adobe. In Adobe, they put it in like it's similar, but they have in like every single language, you know, there is, and they has it written. But anyway, you'll see something similar to this to let you know that, hey, you don't have that footage. Just making an adjustment to the computer screens. So something that's a little bit of a challenge is, I know you don't want to hear all this, but, you know, monitoring chat windows and teaching, and you know, making sure that the stuff that I'm, you know, want you to see, you're actually seeing. So yeah. All right. So I just trying to make sure I can make sure everything looks how it's supposed to, and still can hear you if you want to reply or say anything, or if you got any questions or something, go ahead and let me know. Once again, I think there's at least a 15-second delay, so it'll take at least that amount of time before anyway, about a 15-second delay. So moving on. So some ways to avoid the offline media. That first one, copying the footage to the computer's hard drive, that's what Final Cut Pro 10 already does. So those of you who were in class, I think I showed you before we imported some footage, that little option. Final Cut Pro 10 automatically does that. If you're not using Final Cut Pro 10, you still be fine, but this is you can copy it to that actual computer. Now, yes, that does take up space on your computer, and eventually you'll probably run out of space. Just to be honest with you, what I do, because I do a lot of editing, I have hard drives. So this is a 2 terabyte hard drive. I think it cost me like maybe $50, and mine's like waterproof, and you can drop it and all that kind of stuff. But and yeah, I run through a lot of, not often, but about every 2 years I'm buying another hard drive. This one was one terabyte. Anyway, the point is, what I do is I save all my stuff on hard drives, and I just make sure I have it with me, you know, whenever I'm editing. If you don't want to do that and your computer has tons of space, then you can save it on your computer's hard drive. Just a little note to help save you some money later on in the future. If you're buying a computer and it doesn't have a bunch of hard drive space, you can buy portable hard drives, and the space on that is getting cheaper and cheaper. So if you're buying a computer and you're like, oh, should I pay for the extra hard drive space? My personal opinion, no, because you're probably going to run out of it anyway. So, and you're going to end up having to switch to buying some type of hard drive anyway. So you might as well just put that money directly into the hard drive, and space is getting cheaper and cheaper. So that's just my little tip for those of you who are trying to do like editing at home and do stuff on your own. So where was I? Oh yeah. When you do save, when you are saving stuff and trying to make sure you don't have offline media, the project file and the source media file, keep those on the same storage media. So what that means is, like when I do a lot of editing with Adobe, or Adobe Premiere Pro, or you may call it Adobe Cloud. So wherever I have my projects, and I'm very organized with my files and whatnot, that that project file is kind of like your recipe. Okay, it doesn't mean, like, say you open a cookbook or something. Just because you have that cookbook doesn't mean that you have the ingredients. So some mistakes that people have is that, okay, I see that project file, and okay, so everything is good. No, it is not. You're using, at least gigs of information. That project file is like kilobytes. Okay, it's probably smaller than a Microsoft, some paper that you typed on Microsoft Word, because it just contains data of this particular piece of video goes at this particular point at this particular time with these particular adjustments. That's all that project file really saves. Okay, but if you keep your project file and your media pretty much in the same folder, then when you're looking up projects, it pretty much finds that project file and your clips at the same time. Now, I know that that's not, for a test, you don't need to know, all that stuff, but basically project file, source media, basically keep it in the same location. So, but I know a lot of my students who take this class, they're, really interested in doing editing or already do stuff on their own. So I'm just trying to give you some tips for, whenever you do, you may know one editing program right now, but, you'll probably end up learning, I don't know, 2 more in the next 5 years. So just trying to tell you some rules that'll help you no matter what program you're using. Cool. All right. Now, your editing doesn't begin once you are finally wherever you edit and you're trying to line up clips. Editing starts before that. Editing starts with what you decide to shoot or not shoot. So and that can really help you out, on the back end when you are trying to go through those clips. So it starts the moment you start shooting. When you don't want to just be shooting every single thing. And yes, it is good to have B-roll and have different options of whatever it is that you're shooting. Yes, I agree with that. But there's a difference between, say, practicing a pan shot that you want to use and doing it 2 or 3 times than just you're at some event and shooting something and you just leave the camera running the whole time. Like, you shouldn't leave some type of event and have, say, 40 minutes of raw footage. If the event is, I don't know, say you're at an event for, say, an hour, you shouldn't have 40 minutes of raw footage. So, and I'm just saying, excluding, say, interviews or something like that. So if you did that, you probably just had the camera on way too long. Now, why is that a problem? Why is it a problem to have too much footage? Okay, lots of reasons. So one, if you have the more you shoot, the more likely you're going to burn through your SD card or whatever storage or your, whatever tape that you're recording to. You're going to run out of that faster. So also, if you are, more efficient, then you can use smaller SD cards. So at UAPB, to be honest with you, during all your classes, if you have, say, maybe even a 4 gig SD card will probably be fine for every single project that you do. Maybe 16 gigs, but I say somewhere between 4 and 16 gigs will probably, be enough to do whatever shoots that you do during your time in the multimedia communications department. Not saying that you can store every single project that you do from, say, sophomore year through the end of senior year, and it's all going to only take up 4 gigs. No, that's not what I'm saying. But when you're at somewhere shooting an event, a project, small video project, documentary, whatever. Okay, not a documentary, but for everything else, yeah, 4 to 16 gigs on an SD card will be fine. But if you're doing some super long 3-hour thing and you're recording 3 hours worth of footage, you're gonna need a bigger SD card. Why am I mentioning all this SD card stuff? Well, the bigger the SD card, the more money it's gonna cost you. So I know money is an issue, and you don't have to have 128 gigabyte SD card. So you don't. So. But if you leave your camera recording all the time, yeah, you're going to burn through, say, 32 gigs in no time. Anyway, being selective with your shooting also means that you spend less time on the actual scene shooting something. I don't know if you've ever been to, say, an event where, say, some type of spot news coverage and a photog from whatever. When I say photog, I mean person who operates a video camera. They industry term for that is photogs. When they show, they don't stay for hours. Okay, they may stay for, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 minutes, say if there's some type of car accident or something. Yeah, they're not on the scene that long. If you've ever been to a, back when we had graduations in person, or we had a special keynote speaker, like say Felicia Rashad from The Cosby Show, and say there's someone from Channel 4, 7-Eleven, or whatever local news station shows up, they don't stay for the whole speech. They stay and get a few quotes, get a few pictures, and then they're gone. So, and they kind of get the essence of it. Also, at graduations, you'll see local media show up at a graduation. They don't stay for the whole graduation. So graduations can be an hour and a half. I think the longest one I sat through was like maybe 3 hours. So they got other stuff to do, other stories to cover. They got footage to edit. So they're not going to spend, that much time on the scene. Also, it saves your batteries. So if you're low on, one of the cameras that I have is a Panasonic GH4. It's a DSLR. It looks like a still camera. So is this one of my GH4s? Yeah. No, it's my G8. Anyway, whatever. Point is that I can, for most things that I shoot, one battery will be fine. So it has great battery life. I'm not trying to plug that camera, but I can, do most stuff that I need to do off of one battery. But if I, leave the camera on, they're shooting everything, then, yeah, you see. So not spending a whole bunch of time on shooting does save your batteries. Here's the most important thing. All right, you can buy more batteries. You can buy SD cards, okay? But there's going to be a time when you have to get a project done. And one of the things is, and getting started, I'm not going to say getting started is the hardest part, but it is, when you're working on a big project, one of the things where you feel like you're spinning your wheels the most and getting the least amount of stuff done is when you're logging footage. So it's when you go back through and you're looking at all these shots and you're deciding what you're going to use, and maybe you're writing down a sheet of shots and interviews that you're going to use, and the more stuff you have, so say you go to, let's just say, shooting a car accident or something, and you've got 40 minutes worth of footage. All right, you got to go through all that, make decisions on what you're going to use, what you're not going to use, right? If you only have, say, 10 minutes worth of that, you can get through that a whole lot faster and actually get to, the real editing of, maybe making, a shot sequence or something like that. So, yes, and you can make faster editing decisions. So the more footage you have, the more it's going to be like, all right, do I like this shot or that shot? Let me play it one more time, or this one is slightly a little bit better. So you're spending all that time making those decisions. And yeah, you should have, more than one take, just, so you can have, in case something goes bad. But you'll spend a lot more time maybe nitpicking over something. Also, less hard drive space. So when you store that on your portable hard drive or on your computer, if you grab all that 40 minutes of footage and put it in one location, guess what? You're eating up gigs of space on your computer, and eventually you're going to be getting rid of it. Eventually you're going to have to get rid of it anyway to make space for more projects. So the less space you use up on your computer or your hard drive, the longer you can go without having to clean it all out. Also, shorter total run time. So sometimes people do projects that are just way too long, and the reason why you may want to go for a shorter version is because if you're in a hurry, nonlinear editing programs, you got to export your footage. And I think I've said this before, that whatever it is that you're shooting, when you export it, it's going to take about 3 times that amount. So if you're shooting a 5-minute project, to export it, it's probably going to take you about 15 minutes. So if you're in a real crunch deadline and, I don't know, you can't spare 15 minutes, maybe if that project was 3 minutes, then the export will take maybe 9 minutes. So you just saved yourself, you cut off 2 minutes from your project and you save 6 minutes in the export time. And in some instances, that might be a huge deal. Also, uploading footage, goodness. Yeah, I remember years ago I tried to uploaded a project. I think it was like maybe 12 minutes, but I had my file size huge. I think it was like maybe 3 gigs or something like that. And I think it took like 12 hours to upload that. But anyway, yeah, smaller output file. You have a smaller output file. Say you just want to keep your final project and delete all the raw footage. Well, then you have a smaller file to save up less space. Also, you can upload faster. So one of the reasons, I'll be honest with you, one of the reasons why I do this in this live type format is because I could do this and maybe record it, but then I'd have to upload it, and uploading a 40-minute or whatever long lecture, I don't know if you'd get it today. So that's why I kind of do it live, so I stream it, and yeah, the quality may not be as good, but at least you get it faster, and I don't have to worry about uploading an output file of this. So also less compression. What does that mean? Most of the stuff that you see, excuse me, most of the video footage that you've seen, whether it's a car commercial, newscast, a news story, especially nonlinear editing systems, they compress it, so you're not getting the full quality. Now, there's efficient compression where it's closer to the best original quality. However, sometimes let's just say I'm trying to upload a video to email a video, okay? Now, I have a big gripe about this, and I'll get into it later, but basically the email attachment, if you want to email something, for most email programs, the attachment limit is 25 megabytes, which is like nothing, okay? But let's say we have a video that we're trying to upload, and let's say this video is 5 minutes long. I don't care what quality it is. If you take 5 minutes and compress it to where it fits into 25 megabytes, megabytes is like what file size for, like I say, a picture, okay? It's gonna look very pixely, okay? Now let's say if I had, instead of 5 minutes, I had a 25-second video. I don't know, a TikTok or something. I don't know how long TikTok's their limit is, but let's say, I don't know, I had a 25-second video and I wanted to compress it so that I could email it to 25 students or something like that. Well, guess what? It's gonna look a lot less compressed. It's going to look less pixely and downgraded just because I'm dealing with a smaller file size. Also, you can do higher video quality. So that's kind of like the opposite of that. So if you you can use different compression settings and have your footage look better. Whew! I didn't think I'd spend that much time on this, but it's important. Yeah, just trying to, so going back to our little roadmap here, you can see we're talking about, we're still in the just that raw video stage before we actually start doing any type of editing. And let me see, oh, need to do something computer link. Sorry about this. I just trying to get an idea of where we are. Okay. So, moving on. Sorry. So, with the shooting, now, and in a lot of video projects, I'm not saying in all of them, But in a lot of video projects, especially with electronic field production, which is where you do like commercials, weddings, sports, whatever, the editing sometimes is determined by how the material is shot, and also knowing how you edit affects how you shoot it. So you're kind of wondering, okay, like what does that mean? Okay. Well, if you know that, say, you're doing something with green screen, and as you guys probably figure out, behind me is actually green. I've just keyed it out. But if I were going to record this, then I would know that, okay, I wanted to use it. If I shot something and I shot in front of a multicolored background, then I probably wouldn't be able to use chroma key on it, because chroma key takes one color and you basically remove it. And anyway, but if I had shot this in front of a multicolored background, then I won't be able to edit using chroma key. So that decision basically has already been made for me, or that choice has been taken away from me. So that's kind of like how it means how the material is shot. Also, let's say you have a wide shot of something, and you're shooting in 1080. Okay, yeah, you can crop in and zoom in a little bit, maybe about 15-20%, make it larger without it looking that bad. But if you need it to be, say, double the size, it's not going to look good. Now, if you shoot it to where you also zoom in or get closer to your subject, and go from a full body shot to a close-up, well then, yeah, now you have that option. But if you never shot that close-up, then yeah, that decision to, okay, I want to get a closer shot of this person doing this particular thing, you can get a little bit closer, but for what you maybe ideally wanted to do, that option is taken away. Also, yeah, knowing how you want to edit, yeah, affects how you shoot it. So yeah, they kind of play off each other. So let me let's see. Oh, some other things too. Shooting for post-production tips. Say, oh, well, I'm gonna go through each and every one of these. Yeah. So should I? Yeah, I'm not gonna give you the little quick version. I'm just gonna go to the next slide, and we'll talk about it. So with pad, so when you're doing takes, okay, so you have somebody, say, recording some lines, some audio. Let's see, sorry, how am I doing on people? Okay. So if you have somebody doing multiple takes, okay, you want some pad before you shoot. Now what pad is recording a few seconds before the person actually speaks. So usually, you give somebody a countdown, you do like a 5, 4, 3. All right, don't say 2 and don't say 1, because in case somebody jumps the gun, you don't want to hear the same person who's given the countdown. So their voice doesn't matter. Whoever's speaking, that's who you want to hear. So, and you do pad also before something and after that particular take. So you do pad before, just in case they jump the gun. Also, the reason why you have pad is because you may want to fade up from black. So you may want it to start out on a black screen and gradually fade, or maybe you want to do some type of transition, okay? If the very first second they speak is the very first second you see them, and that's the very first second of the video, then any type of transition is going to kind of like gonna go over them speaking. So let me put it this way: if I'm fading from black and I've got pad, then I can fade from black, the person be completely visible as they start speaking. Okay. Now, if I don't have that pad and I start fading up from black, immediately at the same time the person starts speaking, they're probably going to be a few words into whatever it is that they're saying before you can fully see them. So that's an advantage of, say, having pad at the beginning of a take. At the end of a take, the reason why you want pad is in case you need to fade down. So in case you want to fade to black and you want them to finish what they're saying before you fade to black. If you cut it right at the end, then whatever transition or whatever, as soon as they get done speaking, it just stops. It's going to seem very abrupt. So that's some reasons why you want to have pad. Also, another thing about pad is when the person gets done speaking, you have them just pause for a second. You just have them look into the camera for 3 seconds. Okay, and that gives you a little bit of pad so you can, if you want to fade out, you can. So you know how I talked about, they get done and you have some video at the end. Well, while shooting that video at the end, they need to just kind of, I wouldn't say freeze, but not just get through delivering the line like, oh, I'm so glad that's over. Guess what? That might end up, that could end up in the take. So depending on how serious it is. So yeah, you definitely want to have some pad at the end of your video. I actually had a example of this. Let me see if I can go ahead and pull it up. Okay. And I'm not sure if I hadn't rehearsed this ahead of time, so I'm not sure how this is going to work or how well this is going to go. So this video that you're about to see, hopefully you'll see it, shows some people doing a take and they have pad. Now, sorry I didn't, should have set this up earlier, but I wanted to just hurry up and get this in. Let's see if I can. I'm finding it. I'm having to link it into the program. For those of you who are wondering, the video program I'm using is a program called OBS. So let's see.
And 5, 4,
All right, let's
3.
see if I can.
Oasis.
Sorry for doing
We
all
have
this
2
editing.
55 plus banquets a year. That's happening Sunday, September the 20th.
So if you're
During
55
class.
plus, or if you're going to be
Or-
55 this year, this banquet is for you.
The church will furnish the meat, the bread, and the drinks.
So we need you to bring side dishes or desserts. We need you to be there by 5:30 because we are going to start serving at 6.
Have you ever wondered why people react or act differently under certain situations? Well, Joyce and I will be teaching on personalities that night.
Or why opposites attract. Come and learn more about your personality.
They're doing
Or maybe
it,
even learn how we can have a spirit-filled or a spirit-controlled personality.
September the 20th. See you there.
Okay, you guys are seeing it.
Got it.
Anyway, they were doing a take, and this was a good example where they did this little point thing, and then they pause for a few seconds. Okay. Now, oh, and it went back to me. Sorry about that. And yeah, that was an example of a good one. In the bad example, and I'm not gonna show it because I don't want to waste too much time with something I didn't rehearse doing. But in the bad example, as soon as they got done doing the little pointing thing, she said, I think like, oh, okay, one more time. And there was no pad to that. And yeah, if I tried to use that and I tried to fade out, I wouldn't have enough time to fade out before she said, oh, let's do it one more time. So that would be an example of Pat. Cutaways. How can I put it? It's one of the most obvious things to know the difference between someone who is an amateur and someone who really knows what they're doing, or at least starting to know what they're doing. A lot of mistakes that a lot of people who don't really know how to shoot video is they're maybe at an event or something and they don't show any cutaways. So cutaways, you see the what do you call it? The definition. It's footage that's connected with the overall event, and it can be inserted between shots. Like, let's say I used a car wreck thing, okay? Car wreck example. Well, one cutaway, say, for a car wreck, the street sign, okay? The street sign that says it was on the corner of, I don't know, 5th and Main or something. So that would be, say, a cutaway. Or if, I don't know, maybe the car wreck is the main thing, okay? But you see people standing on the side, looking at it, pointing, at the wreckage, then say that would be a cutaway. Or maybe during the accident, the license plate, the car got hit so hard that the bumper, or the license plate ended up, I don't know, 50 feet away. Okay, yes, the main damage is right there where the car wreck is, but that bumper that flew off, in some direction, that's also, worth, shooting for a cutaway shot. Now, one way that cutaways can help, let's say with inserted between shots, like say if I'm well, you see this in a lot of YouTube videos. They just go from someone speaking and then they do a cut to them saying something else, and that there's kind of like a jump in time, right? Well, one way that could be smoothed over is if they had, say, footage of whatever it is that they're talking about, and they pop that up in between, take 1 and take 5 whenever they're blending in parts of their speech, whatever their address may be. Let's see. Yeah, it can also cover up mistakes. So I've done plenty of videos where people will make lots of mistakes, but sometimes what I'll do is I'll have a second camera angle, and I'll switch to that angle and use take 2 or something to cover up a mistake that was made. Shifts in time as well. So say you're shooting, I don't know, some event. Let's just say a graduation, okay? And maybe something went wrong in the graduation. Maybe the keynote speaker was supposed to, to be there, and they were a few minutes late, okay? Well, instead of, showing that, I don't know, 2 minutes of awkwardness, then if you're editing this thing, you can have some cutaway shots. Maybe show, I don't know, some family waving at a graduate, okay? And they're enthusiastically waving, or showing the graduate waving at their family, or I don't know, something, okay? Maybe an exterior shot of the building. Anyway, you cut to that for, let's just say, 3 seconds, and then when you get back from that, you've got the keynote speaker walking onto the stage, getting ready to give their address. Now, that cutaway shot was only 3 seconds. So, but in real time, there may have been 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes of just waiting around. So usually when, say, you're covering an event, or you're doing an event, let's just say a wedding, it usually goes by faster in the wedding video than it does in the actual thing, because usually there's some type of waiting for something. So anyway, shifts in time. And you may also, it can also give you a better idea of the whole thing. So sometimes you'll see, say, reaction shots where something happens and you see people react. I don't know if you've ever seen, like, say, a stand-up comedian or maybe a televangelist. Stand-up comedian tells a joke about maybe a person of a particular race. That person's in, someone, they may show a cutaway shot of that person of that particular race or of that particular gender laughing at that joke. Okay? It doesn't have to be, a race or a gender thing. I'm just trying to give you an example. Or maybe there's a pastor, a televangelist pastor speaking, and they're speaking fervently and they're making points, and you may see somebody in the audience just really, nodding their head as if they're like, "Yes, I'm with you." Guess what? That shot may have been them responding to something that had nothing to do with what was actually being said, but it's still a cutaway shot. It's called the reason why I say it's called a cutaway shot is because it cuts away from the main action to show something else that's related to it. I'm just about out of time for today, or for the amount of time that I want to make these videos. Usually I'll try to go for like 40, 50 minutes. 50 minutes would be like an official class time. I started my watch late, but yeah. Trying to think if there's anything in the chat section that anybody had to say. No? Oh, all right. Well then, since I know that you guys have a delay, I'll stay on for just like a few seconds in case you have a question or if there's something that that someone wants to mention or want me to go back for. While I'm waiting those few moments, I'm just going to remind you one more time that if you wanted to, let's pop up Chrome, Google Chrome. That's my little timer right there. Remind my dashboard. Yeah. So just to remind you, in addition to doing the the live stream, I'll put announcements on Blackboard about, okay, this video, I'll put a link, but even if you don't want to deal with that, you can just go to, let's just say, what's this channel, Artramel, I think that's what it is. Yeah, and you can go under creative playlist or just click on playlist, and it'll show you stuff for my computer editing class. So yeah, and I think I'll check to see if anybody has anything that they want to ask or say. Nope. Okay. Well then, yeah, that'll be it. Let me just clearly say this, and I'll probably have to put this in. I'll probably have to put this in a remind announcement. Okay. If your class day is not on Wednesday, then you are by default required to come to class on Friday. If you cannot make it, you got to tell me, okay? Because we definitely didn't have enough people show up for the Friday session, and I don't know, I guess maybe you guys are going to be behind, or I don't know. But maybe I'll have to, I don't know, spend some extra time somehow. But yeah, there's about 5 of you, maybe 6, that are behind. So once again, if you didn't show, if I don't think I have the list, but those of you, let me put it this way: if you know you didn't, if you know that you didn't come to the TV studio on Wednesday for editing, and you didn't sign up for Wednesday or whatever, come on Friday, okay? Because things are already difficult enough as it is, and trying to figure out if half the class is a week ahead of the other ones, but they still both got to meet during the same week, and I don't want to be trying to remember, okay, this class I got to teach them this particular thing, but the other class I got to teach them something different this week. So, yeah, make sure you show up. I sent out a picture of where you need to go. If you got any, questions about that, just, let me know. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna stop this stream, and I'll see you guys later.